Harley-Davidson has officially started to crumble, and this time, the crash is so loud, they can't even pretend to keep it private. The writing was on the wall for years, maybe decades, but in true legacy brand fashion, they ignored every warning sign until the floor gave out from underneath them. Now, the inventory's overflowing, the dealers are drowning, and the brand that once stood for rebellion is being reduced to clearance tags and repossession auctions. So tell me, when did Harley stop being a motorcycle and start being a mistake? And if you think I'm exaggerating, hear me out. So, Harley-Davidson has officially slashed production by 25% this month, and it's not just a belt-tightening move. It's a crisis response. This level of output reduction is what you see when a brand runs out of market confidence. For a company that produced over 180,000 motorcycles annually just a few years ago, this cut represents tens of thousands of unsold units and millions in frozen capital. It's Harley admitting that they've built more than they can sell, and they did it while ignoring years of economic red flags. When Harley flinches this hard, it's bigger than just one bad quarter. Dealerships across the US are now sitting on inventory that's been parked for over 200 days, some for 300 or more. That's more than double the normal sell-through cycle for new motorcycles, and it's turning showrooms into warehouses for debt. What used to be a symbol of freedom is now a liability with wheels. Harley's average dealership is now carrying between $1.4 to $2 million in unsold bikes, many of which depreciate faster than they can be marketed. When the showroom turns into a graveyard, the writing's already on the wall. But still, here's the financial trap few outside the industry realize. Through floor plan financing, dealers are essentially renting Harley's inventory month by month, paying interest on every unsold model sitting idle. Current average floor plan rates hover around 9% annually, and with stagnant sales, that interest snowballs fast. Some dealerships are now losing over $20,000 per month in holding costs alone, and that's just to not sell bikes. At this point, Harley's inventory is actively cannibalizing its own network. To fight back, dealers have gone aggressive, slashing prices by up to $5,000, offering 0% APR for 36 months, and even throwing in bonus gear packages just to get bikes off the lot. But the truth is, price cuts are landing flat. The average buyer isn't just hesitating, they've mentally checked out of the market altogether. In 2023, % of prospective motorcycle buyers delayed or canceled purchases due to high interest rates. Now in 2025, we're seeing the result: empty dealerships, rising repossessions, and frozen capital. Because when trust in pricing collapses, discounts feel more like warnings than opportunities. Behind the scenes, Harley's leadership is scrambling to stabilize its internal pipeline. Factory schedules have been throttled, union hours are being renegotiated, and R&D projects are on indefinite hold. In Kansas City and York, Pennsylvania, workers have already seen shift cuts, and whispers of more layoffs are spreading fast. Harley's current R&D budget is projected to drop by 32% year over year, the largest pullback in over a decade. Harley's premium pricing once built its image, now it's killing its market. Since 2019, the price of the Harley Street Glide has surged from around $22,000 to over $35,000, a 59% increase in just 6 years. And this isn't a limited edition model. This is one of Harley's flagship cruisers, now priced beyond the reach of its core demographic, middle-class, working-class riders who once defined the brand. Harley tried to justify this spike with terms like premium craftsmanship and heritage value, but most consumers saw it for what it really was: corporate overreach. Because when price hikes outpace income growth, even the most loyal riders stop saving for a dream. Entry-level Harleys haven't escaped this inflation trap either. Models like the Iron 883 or Sportster, which were traditionally marketed as accessible first bikes, now regularly push above the $15,000 mark, before taxes, fees, and dealer markups. In fact, once you add basic accessories and delivery charges, even a starter Harley can set a rider back nearly $18,000 out the door. For perspective, that's more than the starting price of some compact sedans and electric cars in 2025. In a time when younger consumers are already burdened by student loans, inflation, and rising rent, Harley has priced itself out of an entire generation. Because when a bike costs more than a car, riders start choosing practicality over nostalgia. Harley's mistake wasn't just raising prices, it was assuming that brand loyalty would withstand economic pressure. The company bet big that its customers would absorb the cost increases, that heritage and image would override affordability. But the result has been the opposite. Harley hasn't seen a meaningful increase in new customer acquisition in over 3 years. In fact, U.S. sales declined 13% year-over-year in 2024, with international markets flatlining. New riders, especially under 35, are abandoning the brand entirely. And the hard truth is, if new blood doesn't enter the culture stops breathing. Used bikes are compounding the problem. With the market flooded by repossessed motorcycles, riders can now buy nearly new Harleys for 30 to 40% below MSRP, often with low mileage and existing modifications. Why would anyone buy new when they can save thousands on a lightly used model with the same engine and features? This dynamic has gutted the demand for showroom bikes and made it even harder for dealerships to justify Harley's pricing model. It's a vicious cycle. High prices kill demand, low demand leads to discounts, and discounts undermine brand value. And when a brand's identity becomes confused, so does its customer base. Meanwhile, financing has evolved from a gateway into Harley ownership into a gatekeeper that locks riders out. Just 6 years ago, motorcycle loan interest rates averaged 3% to 5% for buyers with decent credit. Today, they've ballooned to 9 to even 15%, depending on credit score and lender. That means a $30,000 Harley with standard financing can now cost a rider over $42,000 across a 5-year loan term. And that's not including insurance, maintenance, or depreciation. And it doesn't take an economist to see how this kind of math turns dreams into debts. The rejection rate for motorcycle loan applications has also surged. 1 in every 5 applications is now being denied outright, according to regional dealership data and bank reports. Buyers with minor credit dings, a missed payment, a high utilization ratio, are being turned away or offered predatory interest rates that drive the total cost of ownership even higher. Dealers are watching leads walk in excited, only to walk out empty-handed. It's demoralizing for staff and devastating for monthly sales quotas. And when rejection becomes the norm, the dealership floor starts to feel more like a dead end than a destination. Insurance has added another punch to the gut. Premiums for Harley motorcycles have nearly doubled in high-risk states like California, Florida, and Texas. Why? Increased theft rates, higher part replacement costs, and the rising value of claims have pushed insurers to recalibrate. A 2023 report from the National Insurance Crime Bureau showed a 17% rise in cruiser thefts, with Harleys leading the category. For many would-be owners, even those approved for financing, the monthly insurance quote is enough to walk away. Because what's the point of affording the bike if you can't afford to protect it? All of this funnels back to one inescapable reality. Harley-Davidson is now a luxury brand trapped in a middle-class shell. The company once marketed itself as a rugged companion of the everyday rider, but in 2025, it's become a financial commitment that fewer and fewer can justify. It's no longer about whether people want to ride. It's about whether they can afford to. And the market is answering that question louder every month. And to me, honestly, the current state of Harley-Davidson dealerships paints an unforgiving picture. Across the U.S., showroom floors are drowning in inventory. Rows of untouched bikes, engines silent, collecting dust instead of signatures. These motorcycles aren't just idling. They're becoming liabilities with every passing day. Many dealers now carry over $2 million worth of unsold inventory, and the longer these bikes remain unsold, the deeper the debt pit becomes. But here's the part no one wants to admit. Some of these dealerships will never bounce back. Each unsold bike sitting in a showroom racks up flooring interest, and most dealers are already paying between $200 to $400 per motorcycle per month. For dealerships carrying 50 to 100 units, That's an additional $10,000 to $40,000 monthly, just to not sell motorcycles. These aren't elite dealerships. They're often independent family-run operations that have been representing Harley for decades. They are now watching their margins erode into dust. How long can you bleed cash just to keep the lights on before you're forced to shut the doors? To counter the crisis, dealers have gone full throttle with promotions, $5,000 markdowns, 0% APR for 36 months, free gear bundles, service packages, every trick in the book. And yet, foot traffic continues to decline. Walk-ins are window shopping, not purchasing. Even digital leads are drying up as potential buyers grow skeptical of the brand's long-term value. In many cities, dealers are reporting their lowest conversion rates in over 15 years. What's the point of discounting a product if buyers no longer believe it's worth owning in the first place? This is where the used market delivers the final blow. Repossessions are skyrocketing, up 28% this year alone, with a large portion involving Harley cruisers and touring bikes. Riders who bought in the last few years at inflated prices and with high-interest loans are defaulting faster than banks can resell the repossessed bikes. In markets like Florida and Arizona, lenders are now turning over used Harleys at auctions faster than dealerships can clear old inventory. The resale value of used Harleys has dropped by 30% to 35% on average, dragging even loyal owners into negative equity. Many now owe $5,000 to $10,000 more than their bike is worth. That means even if they wanted to trade in or refinance, they'd be stuck paying to get rid of their Harley. This isn't depreciation, it's collapse. It's not just killing sales, it's killing the entire sales process. And yet, in the middle of this wreckage, Harley's biggest gamble may have been its most expensive mistake of all: the LiveWire electric motorcycle. With a price tag starting north of $22,000, the LiveWire was launched as the futuristic reinvention of Harley-Davidson. What it became was an overpriced misfire, trapped between two audiences: legacy riders who wanted nothing to do with it, and younger riders who couldn't afford it. When you aim for everyone and miss both, you end up marketing to no one. The bike itself wasn't the problem. The LiveWire boasts impressive acceleration, decent handling, and a design that stands out in a sea of e-bikes. But the specs didn't justify the price, especially not when range anxiety and limited charging infrastructure remained deal breakers for most. At a time when Tesla was promising 400-mile ranges, LiveWire struggled to offer 100 to 120 miles per charge. Now tell me yourself, in this situation, no matter how diehard a Harley fan you are, would you seriously spend even a penny on one of these bikes today?